Hey everyone, Scott Higgins here. Thank you for tuning in again this week. Just a quick intro because once again, little audio mix up. That's right. Ace and I are constantly trying to improve things on the podcast and decided to do a little studio work. And I built a couple of tables that we installed in the studio. Look great, function great as far as the setup. The only thing is, first time we used them, we didn't quite have everything plugged in just right. As you'll hear in today's episode, we weren't on our regular microphones. We were basically recording through our camera mic, which is not the best audio, but you can hear us. You can hear us, but it's not top quality audio. The best audio is our guest, Kevin Flynn, which I guess in the end is the most important thing, that you get to listen to Kevin. What great guest, guy that started the Nantucket Comedy Festival, and his reasons behind it is just an awesome story, as well as his career, and one that we weren't prepared for. That was a pretty interesting story. Great episode, and we appreciate it. So enjoy Kevin Flynn.
Be careful. He's and Scott Higgins, both of them coked up out of their minds.
Listen to you. He's down in the basement. Yeah. Oh, I love that.
I think we should call this the Acement.
The Acement, yes.
Yeah, what do you think there, huh?
I like that. The Acement Studios.
Excuse me, I'm drinking beer. Hold on a second.
We usually drink bourbon on our end.
Yeah,
when we
right.
do the podcast, so
that's all right.
Feel free to enjoy yourself.
Yeah, exactly. You shoot an 8-ball if you want. We don't care, as long as it's good stories.
And welcome to the Acement, everybody. It's time to go behind the funny. This is Scott Higgins.
And this is Ace Cicino. What's the matter, Scott?
I was running into the room.
You just came running into the room from the bathroom.
I did.
It's what happens when we make your work extra on a night where we do 2 episodes. Man. I know, huh?
It's worth it, though.
That's right.
It is so worth it. But thank you, everybody, for listening, for tuning in. Everybody that is joining us. If you are downloading, if you are subscribing, please take a moment and give us that 5-star written review. It is a great way to support the podcast, great way to help us out. We do appreciate it. We've gotten some great reviews recently, and it helped us out on the charts, which is so important. So,
absolutely.
It is greatly appreciated. And another way to help us out, Ace?
Another way to help us out is to give us that you just said the 5-star review.
Yeah, but they can give us 2 if they
like. The other way is, listen, tell a friend about us. If you enjoy the podcast and you've got friends that are looking for a new podcast, tell a friend. We'd love to have more subscribers. Thank you. We'll get to that. And then also our Patreon page. So www.patreon.com/Behind the Funny, where you will get extra content. You will get merchandise. We've got coffee mugs. We've got T-shirts. I think Scott's working on the 2-year point condoms. Yeah, at least according to a couple of weeks ago, you said you were going to look into that.
Yeah, I forgot who suggested that for us.
I think it was me.
That was the greatest idea. I'm not giving you credit for that.
It was go back and listen. Anyway, but no, if you go to our Patreon page and become a patron, it's $5 a month, and you get extra content as well as some merchandise, and it's helping us out. So we really appreciate it. This week's bourbon date, just like actually, this is going to come out before last week, so is Ammunition.
Yes,
Scotty found this.
It's a new bourbon that we're trying out from Sonoma County, California.
So you know it's good.
This one, yeah, not quite Bourbon
County,
Kentucky.
They're known for their bourbon, but they are known for their wine, and this is finished in wine casks.
Yes,
right?
That's what's unique about it. This one is finished in Cabernet Sauvignon barrels, and they also have, I know you do. They also have a rye that is finished in Pinot Noir barrels. Wow. It's a newer bourbon by a vineyard that's out there, so we wanted to give it a try.
Well, Clinkies.
All right. Clinkies.
And we're really famous because we don't have picnic tables anymore. We have a news desk.
Yes.
It looks like a news desk, but Scotty boy here is pretty handy with the wood, and he's also good with making furniture. So
We got
You like
rid of
that?
the
You see
picnic
what I did
tables. I did. We got rid of the picnic tables, and we have a real desk now.
Awesome. Well, listen, folks, we are really excited for tonight's show. You are going to love this. This is a guy, we've said it before. Isn't it amazing? Like there are certain people you work with and you've worked with a million times. Like, when I was coming up and I was opening, for people, I worked with Mike Donovan and DJ Hazard,
Right.
like how many guys you work with all the time, Mike McDonald, and then other people you just never got to work with. And this is one of those guys that like has been around for a really long time, started in Boston, and I never got to work with him. And so, I mean, his resume is ridiculous. We're going to get to talk to him about all the stuff that he's done, but he's a really, really well-established comic actor, producer, and also the creator, executive producer, and runner of the Nantucket Comedy Festival, which is coming up. So we wanted to have him on right before the festival so we can put a plug in for it.
Absolutely.
But welcome to the Behind the Funny podcast, Mr. Kevin Flynn. Here he is.
Hey guys, how are you?
Hey, Kevin, how are you?
Man?
I'm doing well. It's nice to two comedians who are drinking. What are the odds?
I know, huh?
Yeah. Talk about a cliche, huh?
I know. Yeah. Well, it just started where we just started drinking bourbon I don't even know how it happened. And then all of a sudden we were like, well, let's give him a shout out each week.
Yeah.
So we just.
Well, it's funny, when I got into the business, I used to say to my friends, I'm getting paid for doing comedy. And I said, the benefits are great. And they're like, well, what are the benefits? I'm like, free booze and cute waitresses. I'm like, those are the benefits. Now we're older. Like, how about a 401k and a dental plan? Jesus.
Yeah, right. Yeah. How about covering my kid's broken arm?
Right,
But your
exactly.
priorities change a little bit.
They are, to say the least. I try to avoid the booze and the waitresses now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, probably a good idea if you're married.
I'm not.
Now,
Yeah.
But what's funny is back then, I do remember that it was free booze, free food. I remember, I think one of the first places I did was this place on Route 9 in Framingham. It was like a Chinese restaurant. I don't remember the name of it, but it was like maybe Peking Garden or something like that. And it was free food and booze. And I was like, this is the greatest thing. I don't care that I'm only getting paid $25. I'm getting paid and I'm getting free food and booze.
But you know what the worst was? When you go to the restaurants, actually you go to the restaurant when the club first opens, like a restaurant that has a room that is having comedy, and they're like, hey, you guys eat what you want, drink what you want. Great. Oh, this is a good gig. You come back a year later and it's like, hey, you guys, you better not fucking eat all that food and drink all that booze. Like somebody's already fucked it up over the course of a year.
We talked about it. There was this place in Hartford, Connecticut that used to be like, hey, you guys can have anything you want, but no steak.
Yeah.
You can't have the steak. Steak for the comic.
It was in capital letters. You could have one entree and one dessert or appetizer, but no steak.
The best one was somewhere outside of Boston. It was the headliner can order an entree. The opener in the middle had to just have an appetizer.
You had to split it. You had to split an appetizer.
Well, I was working at a club one time where they had a sign in the green room that said only the headliner gets free drinks. Everyone else must pay. And
that was the Comedy Connection in East Providence.
I didn't want to call them out. I didn't want to call them out. But I was
Well, that's the Don Gavin rule.
Yeah, right.
But I was working with the late, great Rich Seisler.
Yep.
And Seisler goes, that is ridiculous. And he goes to the bar and he goes, I'll have 3 Cokes and 3 waters. They go, you want 6 drinks? He goes, yes. And he brings them back to the green room and hands them out to everybody.
That's nice. God bless him, man.
He was the best.
Yeah, fantastic timing. He was supposed to come out to the comedy festival that year.
Oh, really? When he passed?
Yeah, and he called me. It was the last time we talked to each other. I laughed my ass off with Rich. I think he had some of the best comedic timing of anyone I've ever worked with. Yeah. And he said, I said, well, the festival is Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And he said, all right, I was going to come out to the island on Sunday or Monday. And
stay in your place.
Yeah. And then he goes, and I was going to leave on Saturday morning. I go, well, I need you to do 7 minutes on Saturday night. That's all I need you to do.
Right.
He said, but he took a cruise, and that was what happened to him. The poor guy got caught out in that godforsaken cruise ships that are the bane of our existence.
I know. I'm about to go on a cruise next month too. Now you're scaring me.
You know, the average person gains 6 pounds on a cruise, 7-day cruise.
That's why I'm doing I'm doing keto right now. Just I've already dropped 8, so
I was gonna say, Ace, you can do better than 6.
Oh,
Come on.
Oh, challenge accepted, my friend. Yeah, no. So, Kevin, when did you start doing comedy? When was the first time you got on stage, and where was it?
I tell you, it was interesting. I was a soccer player before stand-up comedy, and I
Yeah.
moved to Boston. I was the assistant soccer coach at Boston University, and I sat down at Stitch's Comedy Club on Commonwealth Avenue there all those years back, right at the Paradise Rock Club. And we were going over the lineup, and it was Sunday night. It was George McDonald's Comedy Hell. And I looked at the open micers, and we've all been through that process. And it's paint drying, man. It's tough. An open mic night. I looked up. I said, I think I could do this.
Yeah.
And the head coach goes, yeah, I think so too. So I was in graduate school at the time. So I basically started doing stand-up at night. And I think, like a year and a half later, I won the Boston Comedy Riot. And that I dropped out of grad school. And the rest is not history. As they would say.
You've had a pretty good career.
It's more kind of a fond memory.
No, listen, you've done some things. That's it. So you weren't from Boston originally?
No, I lace curtain Irish from Connecticut. Okay. That's actually what my one man's about. It's about my father was an iron worker, and my grandfather. But I grew up in Connecticut. So yeah. That very famous photo with all the men sitting up on a beam above the city of New York? If you look to the furthest right, that's my grandfather, Patty Flynn.
Really?
Yeah.
I just saw that on your website, and because I was doing some research, and I was looking, and I was like, oh my God, that's his grandfather? Holy shit.
We always thought it was him, but a couple of documentaries have come up in the last couple of years that on his left hand, he had 4 fingers. He lost it when he was connecting a couple of beams together. His finger got caught in a hole that was meant for the rivet, pulled his finger clear out, went back to work 3 days later. Was more pissed about losing the paycheck than he was with losing the finger, to tell you the truth.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And kids today are triggered because you say the wrong word. This guy lost a thumb
right
in an iron, accident. So yeah, I think I've seen that documentary or one of the documentaries about those iron workers, because I think they've identified all but one at this point.
They just don't know, because they think it's either my grandfather, the official stuff. Well, these last 2 have said it's my grandfather because they found other pictures and another angle showing the 4 fingers.
Okay.
And here's something funny. My father, working as an iron worker when he came back from Korea, was working with his dad, and he put on his glove, and he goes, he couldn't get his fingers through. Because that was the first time my father realized his father didn't have 5 fingers on his left hand. I'm like, Jesus, Dad, you weren't very good in math. Oh my God.
How old was he?
I think he was like an apprentice. Like he was probably, I think he'd just come back from Korea. He was probably 20 years old or before.
So he was in his 20s and he just realized it. Holy shit.
He wasn't a detective. He was an iron worker.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Wow.
That no need to pay attention to those things.
So you grew up in Connecticut. You did that first time at Stitch's. It's funny. I've reached out to George McDonald. I want to get him on the show, and he's like, I haven't done comedy that much in a while, and I'd have nothing to say. And I'm like, man, you've been doing comedy for so long. You could absolutely have stories to tell. I've tried to get him out.
I've tried to get him out
to the festival.
Not to the festival, but like in the winter out here when I can just hang with somebody. I come out. I live in LA now, but I come out every, maybe 8 weeks before COVID anyway. To do some stuff out here. But he was such a good person, which is so rare. Comedy is all like, everybody's trying to keep you down or be an asshole, or you get bumped or whatever. George would just basically, like you said, you were doing some research before you got on. I'm like, well, that's not really a comedian's podcast. Holy shit. The guys are actually doing research and shit. That's actually a very good sign.
Kevin, I didn't do any.
I figured that.
I was as shocked as you are when he said he did.
Well, because I'm the one that puts the bio in the show notes, so I had to do some research.
You got to read.
I do cut and paste, but because a lot of times, we have people that we've worked with on, and this is, and that's why I was saying earlier, like you're one of those guys where I've never worked with you, but we've both been doing it for a really long time. It was weird. I've only worked with Gavin once. I've worked with Sweeney twice. I've worked with Mike McDonald about 150 times, Mike Donovan 150 times, DJ Hazard 150. it's just weird how you either work
Right.
with someone a lot or you just don't cross paths.
Well, I literally, basically winning the riot was the thing for me. I got to work about a year and a half in Boston, and then I moved to
What
Los
year
Angeles.
was it?
Probably 86.
Okay,
And listen to this. This is pretty, because I was doing my research on, I was putting this play together. This one man, it was in the finals that year, not in the finals, but in the comedy riot that year. I beat out Louis C.K., Nick DiPaolo, Mark Maron, David Cross, Tom Cotter, Jackie Flynn, and I was a co-winner with Janine Garofalo.
Wow.
Not familiar with any of those.
Yeah. All unknowns.
We're gonna have to do some research.
No, I'm the unknown, man. That's what
You beat them. That's all that matters.
And then I just found out, I'm in Edinburgh all August doing Fear of Heights at the Fringe Festival there, and in the same theater space, it turns out is Janine Garofalo. So
really,
yeah. And here's another thing. You guys might be a little too young for this, but do you remember Elle Macpherson?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
Sports Illustrated model. Apparently, she's a lead singer of a band, and that was always my girl. And I remember saying to my girlfriend, I've had the same girlfriend for years and love her to death, but I said, hey man, can my free pass be Elle Macpherson? And she goes, absolutely. You get a shot at that, you take it. I'm like, all right. Well, all of a sudden I called her. I go, hey, Elle Macpherson's at the same theater as me. She's like, like I still have a shot. It's not happening.
Yeah, right. Oh, listen, I remember Elle Macpherson. I have a picture of myself. I went to Madame Tussauds Wax Museum like 20-something years ago, and there was an Elle Macpherson statue. I looked at the security guy. I go, how fast can you run if I pick this thing up and run out the door?
I thought you were going to stick your dick in it and use it as a candle.
That's what I thought he was going to go with too. The inflatable doll.
I was
this candle won't light.
I was there with my soon-to-be ex-wife, so I didn't want to go too bad.
Are you really getting divorced?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's good for comedy material. Not so great for the soul when you're going through it.
Yeah, no, it's been 6 years now, so I still haven't written any. You know what? I haven't written divorce jokes, but I have written the difference between dating in your 20s and dating in your 50s.
Yeah,
it's definitely.
I got to tell you, man. I think I put up some pretty good numbers when I got divorced, because people start throwing people at you. It's like, oh, she's divorced. When you go to dinner parties is what you do.
Yeah. Well, I dated a few people with daddy issues, so they weren't divorced yet. Bless you. He had to sneeze. He went, you don't have to go on mute to sneeze. Don't worry about it, man.
All right.
No.
Your specialty is daddy issues.
Yeah. Well, I look younger than I am, so.
But I tell you, the Boston comedy scene was so special. I've talked to guys about this. Tom Cotter and I were talking about this, where a lot of guys came out of the Long Island, New York area, because New York City's there. So it's a little different, but pound for pound, every comic from Boston, needs to sing for his supper. And I tell people it's because the headliner was the host. And man, if you didn't come up after Gavin or Lenny or Sweeney or Rogerson and kill, Gavin would walk up to me. All right, kid, we'll see you in a couple of months. It's like, oh, shit.
Exactly. Yeah, right. Exactly.
And he never said that to me, thank God. But I said, I got out to LA and people, I remember, I don't know if you know Chris Titus. He's had stuff. So Chris and I are working. I'm closing. Chris is middling. Some guy starts heckling him. And he goes, hey, whoa. I tell you what, you know what, pal? The next guy, he's from Boston. He'll handle you. And I'm like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, right.
Jesus Christ. Deal with your own heckler, man. I got enough problems.
Yeah, but you're right. And it's funny because I've heard Rogan talk about it on his podcast, because, he came from the area as well. Fitzsimmons.
All right, here, let me cut you off. I think, because I used to host after George McDonald, I started being the host of Stitches for the open mic night. And then I eventually moved to Thursday night when BCN was still around, and Mark Perreno. Mark Perreno was like a rock star, he'd bring you up. And I remember it was, I took it over for him. And I think I put Dane Cook on for the first time, and Joe Rogan, I think I put on for the first time. I give Joe a gig. He's opening for me in Springfield, Massachusetts. I'll never forget it. We're at some, shitty bar, go figure. Right. And there's a dance floor, and Joe's opening with 20 minutes, and they're heckling him. Mm-hmm. He goes, fuck you. They do a fuck you fest. And then all of a sudden, Joe drops the mic, and in one leaps over the railing and lands right next to the table, grabs the guy by the throat, and he goes, ooh, what the fuck are you doing? And Joe goes, you think you're just going to shit on me and I'm just going to take it? And he goes, well, yeah, you're the comedian.
yeah, but I'm a comedian who knows mixed martial arts, motherfucker.
Yeah. No, well, that was when he was a Taekwondo guy. Yeah.
Yeah. My first paid gig was with Joe and Ed the Machine Regime down at this hell gig down. I don't know if you ever did Windsor's down in Narragansett, Rhode Island. You probably had moved away by then.
Yeah, I moved away by then. Yeah.
I started in '89, so it was at the tail end of the boom. Where it was kind of tailing off. But there was a guy named Brian Deary who used to book. It was Funny Farm Comedy.
Oh yeah.
And he used to book these hell gigs. And Joe and Ed were on that show. And again, it's like, it's weird how you work with some people a ton and then other people, but you had already moved away by '89, right?
Yeah. I was gone right about then. And then, I moved to LA, and, it's tough in LA because as a comic, you should move to New York first, I think, because there's more stage time there. There's more camaraderie. People are sort of, you live in more of a life. Out in LA, it gets very weird. You don't work as much, and then you don't make any money when you're in town. So you do the colleges and stuff.
Gigs, right?
So you're working 2 weeks, you're home for 2 weeks, and you just can't quite build up momentum sometimes. So
we've heard that from a few people that have gone to LA, that it's a lot of 5 to 7 minute spots out there, and you're not making any money. And, a lot of guys that's why they end up turning to writing gigs and other things to make money so that they can go out and do these spots.
Right.
It's just a different atmosphere.
I got lucky.
You should go to New York and everything.
Yeah, I got lucky. I'm saying, just because of Boston, I'm telling you, just the school of hard knocks, and you got to bring it. You got to come up and you got to bring it, and like the whole, which I think can be a bad thing too, because you don't sort of find the subtlety of your own humor. But I jumped on the stage in LA and I was just throwing punches and going for it, and I passed at the Improv. I passed at the Comedy Store my first go round each time. Actually, I rarely ever tell the story because I don't look very good, but I audition at the Comedy Store. Dom Herrera gets me a spot there, and it's on a Sunday night, and I audition, and the guy comes up, and MC goes, Mitzi wants to meet you. And I said, okay. So I go over, and Mitzi goes, you're very funny. You're from Boston. I go, yes. She goes, Boston guys are funny. I go, oh, thank you. And she goes, you look like a Brian. I go,
okay.
I'm Kevin, and she goes, all right, well, you should maybe be a Brian, I think.
Brian Flynn. How do you take that? Right.
Like, there's not enough fucking Brian Flynns in Boston.
Yeah, right. Yeah. What, Kevin is an Irish now?
Well, there's probably 7 of them doing comedy in Boston, for God's sakes. So I call Dom that night, and he goes, how'd it go? I go, yeah, she passed me, man. So he goes, oh, good. So the next day, I'm supposed to call in for spots. I call in for a spot. I get a spot, that's kind of like, wow, holy shit, really?
Right away.
Yeah, right away. So I didn't realize it was, they called it Urban Night. So I show up, and it's free, no cover. And I walk in. I'm like one of only 3 white dudes in the place.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And when they bring you up from Boston back then in the late 80s, early 90s, it was like racist. He's a race, Boston rap that you had. So, and I used to try. I'm from Connecticut now.
Yeah, right. So, you're really racist. Yeah.
True story. So I'm up in the belly room upstairs, and I go up just as I walk up on stage. Somebody goes, "Hey, when's the 8 is Enough reunion?" And I'm like, "Ha ha, yeah." Funny. Actually, the biggest laugh that I got the whole night was laughing at the guy laughing. So I'm up there about a minute or two, and all of a sudden, stage right behind me, boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, what the hell is that? That's the exit door, And I'm like, I ignore it. And 5 seconds later, boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, Jesus, don't these people know it's a free show? No reason to beat the coverage. Everybody laughs. Very, very little laughter, actually, but there was this little something. Then finally, boom, 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 boom. Third time, I'm like, Jesus, let me check this out. I open up the door. 5 gangbangers walk in. And the rowdy crowd goes, silent, and everyone's just like no one moves. 5 guys walk through the room. They walk down the stairs towards the main room, and the door closes. And I go, yeah, man, I was like this close to kicking their ass. And, and everybody laughed, right? And I go, and what do we do when that happens, comedians? We go, good night, folks. I'm fucking out of here.
And on a high note, exactly.
I gotta laugh. I said good night. So I leave the club and I go to my car and I go to the Improv and I can't find a parking spot. And then I find one and I'm walking to the parking spot and Suli McCullough, who's a comic, is walking the other direction. And he goes, "Hey, Flinny, guess what just happened at the Comedy Store?" I go, "What?" He goes, some gangbangers came in and shot some guy in the leg." And I'm like, "Oh, really?"
What?
I let him in.
And then I showed them out.
Oh my God. I was like, I never went back.
You know what's so funny? You brought up earlier about the whole fact that, like, I was starting to say that Rogan always says that, like, Boston comics are killers, they're assassins, they're this.
Yeah.
And then he's also said, but Boston is also the only place where they had that headliner host setup.
Right.
And now I just put two and two together because that's what made everyone assassins. You had to up your game if you were gonna even stand next to Ken Rogerson or Kevin Knox or Gavin or any of those guys. Yeah, get Knox. I mean, he was so high energy. How the hell you had to bring your energy up?
And he never phoned it in. Fucking huge cocks. Fucking Kevin Knox. Fucking
we do it all the time. He'd walk into the green. "Look at you, young guys. Young guys, you're a hero. Me, I'm an old man. I can't do it anymore."
Kevin, my first time on stage was at the Connection Faneuil Hall, and it was Knox's night. And they draw numbers, and I draw number 1. And he goes up and does 15 minutes of some of the best stand-up I've ever seen. 100 people in the room are crying, laughing, falling to the floor. He's 10 minutes into his set. I look over at the guy that got me in, Cal Verducci, and I go, "I think I'm going to leave." I do not want to go up after this because, I mean, literally, he's done better than any HBO special I've ever seen.
Right.
Anything on a Monday night at Faneuil Hall.
But what did he do?
But what happened was when I was introduced to him, my friend Cal said, "Hey, this is my buddy Scott. He tried comedy years ago and he kind of shelved it. And I talked him back into trying it again." So then Noxie does his 15 minutes and again, destroys the place. Then he goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, this next guy coming to the stage, he's not just a new guy. He's an old friend. We've been trying to get him back on stage for years. We finally got him here for you guys tonight. You're going to love him. Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Higgins." And they already liked me. So he made it so easy for me to get up there, and they laughed at my first joke, didn't laugh for pretty much anything else after that, because they was like, "Wait a second, I thought this was an old friend. I thought he was going to know what he was doing." And it ended okay. You know, I still have it on tape, and I watch it once in a while when I need to remind myself that I'm shit. But you know, it was amazing to watch these guys. You go on Wednesday night, and Gavin would host, like you mentioned, and it was just, that's where I started because I'm from Connecticut as well. And I would drive up to Boston to do my spots when I started. And I got to watch these guys, and that was just a great learning experience, watching these guys get up there and host and do the headline host thing. That was amazing.
That's why Boston guys were assassins. Yeah, really.
Yeah, right.
You had to do that. When I won the Riot that year, they gave me a weekend spot on Lenny Clark's show at Stitches Comedy Club.
Wow.
And people would line up down the street. Lenny would do 3 shows. He'd come from LA. He'd do 3 shows on Friday night. I'd go to Nick's on Saturday night. So I'm doing 3 shows with Lenny Clark, and he goes up on stage and opens with 45 minutes. And you're like, and I'm like, "Oh my God, this guy's killer. This guy's killer." And then I'm thinking, I got to go up after him. Holy shit.
Right.
But he brings the crowd down. He goes, "Hey, listen, this next guy is fucking pro soccer. Great fucking guy. You listen to him or I'll come out there, rip off your head and shit down your neck."
Yeah, right.
So I go up and, you're an open micer and you're just off the open mic circuit and you got like maybe 12 to 15 minutes. And I go up, I do pretty well. Second show, it's great. I'm thinking this is fantastic.
This is easy. Yeah, right.
Because Lenny gives me a great intro. Third show, everybody's liquored up. Everybody's piling into the green room. He's giving everybody guest spots. Sweeney comes by. Gavin comes by.
All these killers come by and bump you, right?
Rogerson comes by, and I'm in the back, like listening to him. I'm part of the gang. I'm like, "Oh my God." Well, because I'm not part of the gang, but I'm like, you're like a fly in the wall going, "Holy shit, these are our comedy idols," So then I realized it's almost 1:00 in the morning. and I haven't gone on yet. And
yeah, right.
And I'm the last one to go. I'm looking around the room. I'm like, I'm fucking on next after all these guys. Lenny comes off stage, goes, hey kid, you're next. Close it up. We're fucking heading out of here. I'm like, oh my God.
Oh shit.
So I walk up on stage. I fucking die. I just die, because there's nothing left in the room. And right. I left that stage. I did about 7 minutes and I sat in the green room. I'm like, oh, I can't do this job. Holy shit. This is ridiculous. So I wait for all the people to clear out of Stitches. I don't know if you guys know the old Stitches Club, but they would all pile out. And I'm like, I didn't even want my money. I'm like, I didn't deserve it.
Yeah, right.
So no, it wasn't that bad. So anyway, I wait till everybody leaves. Then I leave. I'm walking down the street and all of a sudden this car comes screeching to a halt in the street on Com Ave. Doors open up, fucking pot smoke comes flying out of the thing. It's Lenny driving with all the guys. Like everybody's in the car. It's like a clown car of clowns.
Everyone else that was on the show except for you.
Yeah. And he goes, get in the fucking car, kid. And I get in. I'm like, where were you guys? What happened? What the fuck? They're like, yeah, we tested you. You fucking passed, kid. I said, I didn't pass. Yeah, it was great.
Holy shit.
What a town.
That's awesome. Yeah, and that's the thing. So I started in '89, but I started in Providence. So I was at Periwinkle's Comedy Club, which was like
Charlie Hall.
Yeah, Charlie Hall was the guy that gave me my first shot. And he said to me, listen, you're good. If you're going to hear about Boston, but I'm telling you right now, get good here. So that when you get to Boston, you're that much better. And so I didn't go up to Boston until 91. I think my first time was at the time and like you said, you had probably already moved away, but I think it was Vinny Favorito used to run the show at Stitches by the time I was there.
Oh, and good luck.
Well, luckily I wasn't doing it for money. So I was all set.
But he was for your money, I think.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, and I went up. I had, I that's when I started kind of going up there, and it was funny because I remember this guy who was always on, and I was so jealous because we both did impressions, and I was so jealous because I'm like, oh, that guy's on again. And now I see him like he's been a writer in LA for years.
Who's that?
Do you remember Elon Gold?
Oh yeah.
So I mean, he would never remember me because I was like some little open micer.
Well, he was a BU student. He was a student at BU, and he was doing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and Barry Katz took a liking to him,
and that's how he got in.
And he got all these spots. Yeah. So.
But yeah, I loved going up there. But I was glad that Charlie gave me that advice.
Great advice that he gave you.
A little bit. He's like, look, get good down here because when you get up to the big pond, you're really being looked at. You don't want to be sucky up there. If you could go up there and start doing well right off the bat, and honestly, it was the greatest advice because by the time I did start going up to Boston, all of a sudden I was opening for Dom Irera and Robert Schimmel and Dave Coulier and all the national acts that would come through because I had already gotten good and they had already known that, oh, this kid can do a solid 20 minutes, clean at the time.
Was this a couple weeks? Was this a couple weeks ago, or when was it?
Yeah, it was. It was funny.
Well, easy. It was about a month ago.
It was always funny though how how the owner would be like, yeah, I want you to be clean, and then you would do a clean set, and then the headliner would get up and start talking about
filthy,
fucking a dead alligator or some bestiality bit,
Right.
And it's like, oh, okay, all right, I see how this works. It's called hazing. But no, it is what it is.
Well, you don't want an opener or a middle for that matter to just be filthy. Like, I sit with Chris Mazzilli, the owner of Gotham in the city. He's on the board of the comedy festival here. And, we'd sit in the back. And when he'd see a young guy come up, start, dropping F-bombs like crazy, he would just be like, nah, not yet. Yeah. You don't want a 22, 23-year-old kid, just being filthy mouthed. It's
because at that point they just using it as a crutch. And Scott said this before, like if you would work with, is it Donovan? You said he would be like, hey, do me a favor, just don't go up and break
Mike McDonald.
Oh, McDonald.
First time I worked with him, he goes, listen, we don't need to come down to their level. He goes, let's raise them to our level.
Mike McDonald has more rules than anyone else.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's fun, and I don't have a problem telling it because we talked about it with him on the podcast.
Yeah.
First time I worked with him, I was someone told me about Mike.
Yeah.
So I get to the green room, and he goes, "Hey, can I see your set list?" I go, "Excuse me." He goes, "I want to take a look at your set
Can I
list."
see your set list?
Yes.
There you go.
There you go.
Listen, Ace, I do a James Sokoloff joke. Don't.
And
do
I
it.
go, "Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
carry a set list on me." And he goes, "You call yourself a professional and you don't carry a set list?" I said, "No, I call myself a professional because I know my act, and I don't need my set list."
Yeah.
And he goes, "That's a good answer. I like that."
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say touche, man. Nice.
He was all but that's the thing. Mike is a.
He's going to test you.
He's all bar,
He's
no
gonna
bite.
test you. I've become
what it
very
is.
good friends
Yeah.
with Mike over the years.
And we had him on the podcast
He was
like 4
great.
years ago. All he did was busted our balls that, there's an excellent sushi restaurant right next door because we were doing it on the road. Where it was like this was before we had StreamYard, so we did it at a Bertucci's in Waltham, and he's like, there's an excellent sushi place right next door. You motherfuckers have to have me on at a Bertucci's. I can't even get a drink.
They don't even have a Caesar salad.
Yeah.
I like Mike.
Awesome.
I had him out to Nantucket once. I got to know him, like in the winter, so we got to hang.
Yeah.
So he's a good man, and he's a pro. He's been around a long time,
absolutely.
so he knows how to do it. He knows, when the lights aren't right, the sound's not right, all that stuff that they fuck with us all the time. So
Right,
that's why I kind of got
And
sick
he
of that
calls it
stuff.
out.
So, yeah. So I used to say when I drive down, to the Cape, going to Nantucket or something, I'd say to my daughter, we'd be driving from New York City. I'm like, I work there. I work there. I work there. She goes, "Dad, that's the Pizzeria Uno." I go, "Yep." And there's a basement.
Yeah,
It has a basement.
See the lobster pot? I work there.
Yeah,
plenty of times. I just went by it the other day. I worked at my day job. I worked out on the Cape.
You mentioned Springfield earlier with Joe Rogan. I was driving through Springfield. I went by Goodfellas Pizza.
Goodfellas, yeah. That was a Bob Mello gig.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I had done that once before, and I'm with my wife. I go, "Yep, did a show there one time."
Yep.
Never worked for Bob Mello.
No, you didn't?
No.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, like you said, I left early. I left pretty quick. So
He didn't. I don't think he started booking until the 90s.
yeah.
And unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah.
So you moved down to LA, and like a lot of other comics that were out in LA, did you get any holding deals, or did you get any chance at any pilots or anything?
Well,
while you were out there?
I kind of had an odd, pretty, the World Cup was coming in 1994, and I had played 3 years of professional soccer, and then I started doing evening at the Improv a couple of times at Comedy on the Road. I'd started doing all the TV shows that were around then,
Right.
and so I kind of went into a little editing booth with a friend, and I call them soccer highlights, a couple goals I scored and stuff. I call it, they're really kind of lowlights, but I show that, me scoring goals, and then I did showed me doing stand up, and then I did some interstitial stuff in the middle, and I sent it to ESPN.
Yeah.
And this could never happen today.
Right.
I sent it to ESPN. They called me back. I wound up being, hosting a show on ABC Sports called The Road to the World Cup. And then I was doing soccer stories for ESPN, like 22 on the way to the World Cup. Then they asked me to do the halftime show at all the stadiums around the country. So I did that. And that led to me hosting a show on the Discovery Channel. So for 2 years, I basically traveled the world. It was called Go For It. It was on Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. all across the country, 32 other countries around the globe. So what I regret about it was fantastic. It was like I was bungee jumping, race car driving, shark diving, all this stuff, and trying to make it funny. And what I regret is that I just did not have time to do stand-up during that period of time. And I think now, if you have a show that's on Monday through Friday, you're going to be able to pack some rooms. I wasn't able to parlay it with social media like you can today.
Right.
So, but that's when I started hosting television shows. So, and that's another thing that's my one man is about. I got married and go to I fly to Italy for my honeymoon, and I get a call that they want to fly me back to Los Angeles within 2 days because I'm up for a television show, and I'm on my honeymoon. And my wife says, "Are you out of your fucking mind?" Like, you're on the first night of your honeymoon, and
you're going to leave in 2 days.
My agent said the job is down to 2 of you. It's a network job, and she goes, I also represent the other guy who I knew, and I'm like, well, but I just got married. She goes, well, your call, but they want to meet you. They loved your tape, and I went back to my wife, and she's like, no, you're leaving your wife on the first night of their honeymoon for an audition, and I'm like, so I called back, and I'm like, I got to pass. Yeah. And my agent was pissed. My wife was pissed. I wasn't doing very well with the ladies at that juncture. And it turned out to be Survivor that I didn't go back for.
Oh, as the host?
As the host?
Yeah, Survivor. So it was down to Probst and I. And
but that didn't last that long.
I mean, it really wasn't successful or anything.
It lasted longer than my marriage. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, now you're like, in hindsight, you're like, son of a bitch.
No, I mean, life can't be like that in the sense that I've had a really great run of doing a lot of different things. But I struggled with that sometimes because, my God, Probst is worth millions. And imagine if Probst could do stand-up. He'd be in Vegas every weekend doing, making $250,000 a weekend or something.
Well, like you said, if you could have parlayed being on Survivor, all of a sudden they know you as the funny guy, the funny host on Survivor. Now you're packing rooms. Now,
well, you're already making millions doing Survivor. So, but I got a beautiful little girl out of it. So, my daughter. So, and no regrets. And so, I just started doing other things. I continued to do stand up and produce some shows, and so that's kind of what I'm doing now. So well, you know what, and that's the thing. I mean, look, we all get into comedy because we like making people laugh. Mm-hmm. At the first time someone hands you $25 and you're like, wait a minute, you're paying me for what I've been doing for months or years just because I enjoy it, because I love making people laugh. If you're getting into it to become famous, you're not getting into it. You got to love it.
But I love what you're doing. And so even so we both have day jobs. Mm-hmm. I never made the move to New York or LA. I tried to move to New York, but I was too afraid of being the starving artist. And so I said, well, I'm going to become a pharmaceutical rep down there. And I interviewed with a guy down there, and he passed my name to a guy in Western Mass. And so I ended up being a pharmaceutical rep in Western Mass for a couple of years. And then I've been with different companies for the past 25 years. I don't regret it. It would have been nice if I could have done that, but I still get to do the same job as Dane Cook or anyone else. I just don't do it on the same level. Well, I just don't do it in front of that many people.
Here's the thing.
I definitely don't make that money.
Here's the thing. When I was starting, we all were in a rush to become full-time stand-up comedians. And once I did that, then you're on a track and they kind of have you by the ball sack. And I look at like Louis or even David Cross, they started to go to New York, they were writing. And when you write on a show, you have insurance, you have money. And I think it like sort of freed Louis up, because Louis was always funny, but he started to go up on stage because he's a writer on Conan or SNL and suddenly, or Letterman. And so suddenly, if he's got fuck you money and he's like, I'm going to do the set that I want to do, and I don't have to chase the little shitty gigs. But what I got tired of really was, the hustling for, I'm at the Improv in Lake Tahoe every year. We did it, 20 years in a row. I got paid the same amount of money for 20 years.
20 years, right.
It doesn't matter if I'm there or Jackie Flynn's there or Tom Cotter's there. It's like, just, you're the guy. And the clubs just don't treat comics as well. We used to sort of have more pull, and we sort of lost that over the years because there's just too many comics. A lot aren't very good, but
especially now, right? Yeah. It's just everyone's a comic,
Well, you got kids majoring in comedy in college. It's like, you majored in college at UT? What?
To make $25 as a host? Yeah, right. Exactly.
Well, and now with the influx of social media and online, we talk about this all the time. You'll see comedy clubs that'll hire somebody that had a viral YouTube video that aren't stand-ups to headline a weekend at a comedy club. Right. The last couple of years you had porn stars and people like that have.
But you know what? That still happened because you probably remember this, because I remember it. the soap opera
stars.
All of a sudden, Jackson Montgomery from All My Children or whatever, Walt Willey. I opened for him 3 times.
Say, you still have a grudge against
I do, because that fucking asshole packed the room with all these fucking starving housewives. And he put on a good show. He could play the guitar. Someone wrote him some songs, but people were coming for him. I remember we talked about it when Eddie Brill was on. We had Eddie Brill on a couple of months ago, and I worked with Eddie and Rhonda Shear, and Rhonda was the headliner because she was on USA's Up All Night. Right. She had 20 minutes of material and I'm not shitting on Rhonda. She was great, but she had 20 minutes of material that her boyfriend at the time wrote for her.
He was an agent, I think, wasn't he? Or no, he was a comic. So.
He was a comic, I think.
Yeah, he was a comic.
And then what happened was, like, after Friday's first show, because she couldn't hold the show, they were like, Eddie, you're going to headline and Rhonda's going to feature.
Of course. But
Rhonda was making the same amount of money, and probably so was Eddie, No, in other words, she was still going to make that headliner money, and Eddie was probably still making feature money. And, we had Paul Barkley on a couple of years ago, and he actually talked about how they would purposely do that to out-of-town comics. So they would have, like, Richard Belzer come in, and he would headline, but they put Gavin on in front of him.
Right.
And Gavin
not always the healthiest.
Crush. Yeah, Gavin would crush, and then Belzer would struggle. And then Paul said, well, that was negotiation points for us next time. So when Belzer's, agent or manager would call and say, hey, we want to get him back, and we'd be like, well, he didn't really do good that last time. We can't pay that kind of money this time.
Well, the reason people would come back, those guys, was not because of the comedy, but because they would hang out with Lenny, Kenny, and Rogerson for and they wouldn't sleep for 3 days. So
when people were getting paid in white and not green.
Yeah, exactly. Or half and half.
Rogerson said, it's funny. We had Rogerson on a couple of years ago. We asked him, like,
I love Kenny.
When did you start? He's like, yeah, dates are kind of fuzzy for me.
Because I'm not good with numbers anymore.
I'm not good with numbers anymore. Dates are fuzzy.
Rogerson is one of those guys that should be so much more famous than he is.
Absolutely.
He is genuinely one of the most funny people I've ever met in my life.
I said I went to LA. I had to follow Seinfeld, Sam Kinison, Bill Hicks. Did not faze me. What fazed me was having to follow Kenny Rogerson. Because he had that cadence, and it was clever, and it was well written, and it would go on for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and and I'd go up with, you're suddenly looking at your own act going, oh man, I suck.
Well, Rogerson, Knox, Gavin, any of those guys, they would go up in front, and you're like, I can't.
Yeah, you're like, this really isn't for me.
I should not be. Like when you work up to headliner, and then you're headlining clubs and stuff, and then you're like, how am I on this weekend and Rogerson's on next weekend?
Those guys stayed though. It's funny because you had Anthony Clark would crush, and he was a youngster, and John Burnett would crush. Nick DiPaolo would crush, unless he got pissed, and then he'd crush the fucking guy with a punch. But those were my group of guys, and we tried to take it to the older guys in a good, healthy, positive way.
Of course.
And for me, it was George McDonald and Don Gavin, who just Lenny led the lifestyle. Lenny was like, he was fucking fall down funny. He was like a bouncer. He was like everything. He did
do everything. Right. Yeah.
But Gav you could talk to, and Kenny you could talk to, kind of ask, jokes and what do you think and structure. So it was a wonderful place to be from. So then the move to LA, and then I got married, moved to New York. So I was there for 20-something years, 25 years, New York City.
And what were you doing in New York when you moved?
I was doing stand-up. And then when my daughter, I was still producing stuff. But I was also, when my daughter was in college, she just graduated. I haven't done a cruise ship in maybe 4 or 5 years because they're just fucking the worst. Oh, they're just the worst. I can't stand. Sorry, Scott. I know you're going on the road. I know you're going to the sea, but
that's me. It's Ace.
That's you, Ace. Yeah.
But and here's the sad thing. I'm 6 years away from retirement from my medical sales career.
And his retirement plan.
My retirement plan. I want to move to the west coast of Florida and I don't want to go out for like months on end, but I'd love to go out for like 1 week a month and just do the cruise, get off, live off that money for a month and my retirement, and then go back and, you know.
It's good to have goals, Ace. It's good to have goals and dreams.
Well, but it's funny because guys that I'm friends with, like Max Docelli, Andrew Kennedy, you know, a lot of these guys that have been on a bunch of cruise ships, those guys are like, I got to find ways to do more gigs around home so I can stop going out on these ships.
Well, it's like crack. It really is.
Yeah,
I tell you.
But that's the thing. They hook you in with the money, right?
Well, but they don't treat you as well as when I first started doing them. I would do them because I'd be out on Nantucket in the fall, in the summer, and then I would take the ones in the fall, which is hurricane season, and nobody wanted them. So I would go out there, and you would get the entertainer suite. I'd bring my parents. I'd bring women. You know, it would be like a blast. And then after a while, they take away the entertainer suite. Then they give you a passenger cabin. Then they take away the passenger cabin. They want to put you in a crew cabin. And then they were like, it was 50% off everything. Then it was like, no, you got to pay 20 off. It was like, and after a while, you're kind of like, the last one I did was during hurricane season, and I was getting a good weekly sum, more than I've been hearing everybody's been talking about. So I was like, the money was good, but I get on the ship. I think I get on it up in Quebec City, and I get on the ship and it's like hurricane season, so big waves, big seas, and the ABBA band was supposed to go on. So it's 7:15, a 7:30 show. I'm in my cabin in my underwear, and the unshaven, and my bags haven't even gotten to the room yet. And you got to go on. The ABBA band is sick, you know. So I'm like, wow, man. No one else can do that. No singers, no musicians, actor. You know, the
comic needs.
But the comic, fucking just call him, let him go up there. So I go up and do the two shows. They combined it into one show because everybody was so sick. Yeah. The whole auditorium, there's like 40 people in there. A 1,200 seat theater, 40 people. And it smells like puke. And I do my time, and I'm like, I took one for the team tonight, you know. And the guy calls me at the end of the cruise, and he's like, yeah, your numbers weren't that good. And I'm like, it was your fault. Do you know what I just went through, man? You know, it's like, so they don't know, they don't care. Right. It's like, so, and after, you know, I would do about 4 a year for maybe 15 years, and by the end, I was like, nah, I'm done. Plus, you got to get your cruise ship game together. You know, my first cruise was out of Puerto Rico, and I got on the ship, and I went up on stage, and no one spoke English. No one. And so I go up there, I go, oh, y'all speak Spanish? And they're like, yeah, we speak Spanish. You know, I'm like, oh, okay. I go, yeah, because I asked the guy, I said, do you speak English? And he goes, no. And I'm like, hey.
Un poquito.
And I'm like, yeah. And I go, no shit, you know, and nobody laughs. All of a sudden, a guy stands up in the middle of the audience with a martini glass and goes, I don't like what you say about Puerto Rico. And he slams the glass down and it breaks. And I'm like, I didn't say anything about Puerto Rico. What are you talking about?
I was talking about Germany.
He takes 40 or 50 people with him. I come off stage, and the cruise director comes up and goes, what did you say about Puerto Rico? I go, I didn't say anything about Puerto Rico. I told her the joke. She goes, well, you've made my job difficult. I go, more difficult than what I just had to fucking do?
Yeah, right. Good thing Gavin wasn't on with his joke. Hey, I went to Puerto Rico a couple of years ago. You know, the fucking thing about Puerto Rico? How's a fucking Puerto Rican?
I don't know how to afford it. They're there all year.
Yeah. And again, I've heard, it's funny how I've heard like horror stories like that, and then other stories where it's like, it's not that bad on this cruise line, you know, if you get hooked in with this particular cruise line. But I mean, we know Jimmy Dunn, who I know you know, Jimmy, you know, we've had him on the podcast, and he wrote a whole book about boat hack.
Jimmy doesn't take any shit, man. Jimmy doesn't take any shit. So it was coming to them, you know. And then the guy accused him of drinking, and Jimmy hasn't had a drink in, you know, 35, 40 years. Right. Yeah. So it's like, you know, they lie, they don't care. And you know, you're just whatever. So after a while, it's almost like I was saying when comics had more power in the city. Yeah. You know, Blumenreich, a couple guys sort of changed that dynamic. Oh, absolutely. Where they kind of took the starch. And that's why I will always be thankful to Gav and Lenny and Kenny and Sweeney, because the comics controlled the city. You know, I mean, my first year doing shows, you get paid in cash half the time. You do 4 sets a night. You did $250, a night. And I mean, I'd walk home, with a wad of cash, on a Saturday night late. Yeah, we were living large. It was unbelievable.
Right. Yeah, when I started, again, it was down in Rhode Island, but I was making like 25 to $50 a show. And it was every Wednesday through Sunday.
Yeah.
And it was, a little restaurant gig here or a comedy club or whatever. But I was only doing it part-time. I was still in college when I started.
But you could almost work every night of the week if you wanted.
You could. Outside of Mondays, occasionally there would be like an open mic on a Tuesday you could do.
But Wednesday to Sunday, you could work almost every week if you wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I miss those days.
You keep depressing us with those Rhode Island stories, Ace. It's terrible.
Sorry. Well,
$25, man. You got to get a better agent.
Yeah, well.
The sad part is, Kevin, though, is that's still what they pay the new guys now.
Exactly.
Like you said, at the other places that the pay hasn't changed, it hasn't changed there.
The opener in 1986 got $125, $150 a set. Set. Yeah,
that's feature money.
That's feature money now. Yeah,
Jesus,
right.
The feature would probably get $250, the headliner $350. You double up on a Saturday night. Barry Katz would have you driving around and
do 2 of his rooms.
Yeah. So yep.
But
good
that
times.
was at the height of the boom, like you said. If you started in 85, 86, that was the height, of the comedy boom. I came in at the tail end; it was dying.
Again, you're depressing us, Ace. Jesus Christ!
I know. Well,
these fucking Rhode Island guys.
It's all these guys that used to go on every fucking show, like Evening at the Improv, and they ruined it for comedy. It was too accessible.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Scott. Yeah. Well, one of the first
both of you are going to shit on me, so go ahead.
We're changing the name of the podcast to Shit on Ace.
Shit on Ace. That's fine. I'm having more.
No, I want to.
$25 in Rhode Island on a Monday night.
By the way, Kevin, who books that?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
exactly.
Oh yeah, we've had more people tell shit stories, and we're like, who books that?
Who books
I'll
that?
do it.
The Nantucket Comedy Festival. How did you come up with the idea for that?
Well,
because running a festival is a lot of work. We've talked to Jim McHugh, obviously, from the Boston Comedy Festival, and
Doug Key from Rhode Island.
He does the Rhode Island Comedy Festival down here in Rhode Island. That's a lot of work to coordinate a festival.
Especially with comics, because it's like herding cats. They're not the most reliable people.
Well, here's the thing. I was in LA, and I was, getting on television, and I was auditioning for stuff, but I hadn't really been in a play or hadn't been able to sort of exercise that muscle. So my sister was out on Nantucket with, she was a nanny at a place, and she said, I'm taking care of these 2 kids. There's a spare room if you want to come out. So I looked up the theater there. It was called the Actors Theater on Nantucket. And I flew to Boston, auditioned for the guy in Cambridge, and I got the lead in this Barefoot in the Park. And it was Little Summer Theater. And it was like, it's like a 90-seat theater on Nantucket. And so I'm the lead in the play. And I'm like, I was on television, and I was kind of, taking it on the chin for money a little bit. But I thought, I'm out of Nantucket. And I was 25, 6 years old. And so I do this play, and I noticed that the theater's dark Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And I said, hey, can I have one of the nights to do stand-up? And the guy goes, yeah, I'll give you Monday. It's like, okay, gee, thanks. So, so I decide, I put up some posters, stand-up comedy on Monday night. Now, to go to a play in the summer is quite a commitment. It's, 2 hours, 2.5 hours. It's, an intermission, the whole thing. I think comedy is a little less, you just come up and have a good time, see what happens. If you don't like this guy, go to the next guy. And I put up a sign, said stand-up comedy, $8. And I put it around town, and I'm sitting out on the bench out front of the theater. And a woman walks by with her Nantucket lightship basket, and these, sort of upper 1%ers walking by, and they look at the sign. They go, "Oh, honey, stand-up comedy." And he's like, "Oh, that would be great." And she goes, "Oh, it's only $8. It must suck." So I went over, pulled all the posters down, put up one for 15, and I went up that first night. It was sold out. And basically I walked into a theater, no microphone, and I would just start doing an hour, my hour. And guys would come out because it was Nantucket. I had Lewis Black come out, and Gaffigan and Anthony Clark and Jackie Flynn and Tom Cotter. And we'd come out, and, we had great shows. And so I think about maybe 8 or 9 or 10 years of that. I got married and moved to New York. And I used to do this reverse commute. I would work in New York Thursday, Friday, Saturday, fly to Nantucket on Sunday, spend Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday on Nantucket, and then fly back to New York. So it was great for years. And then, I got divorced and, lost the house. And I was like, my daughter's still out here in the summer. And I was thinking about how can I get out there? And then, an unfortunate event happened. I'm sitting in my apartment in Manhattan and I'm reading New York Times. And it says that there was a rash, they called them a cluster of teenage suicides on Nantucket. And the last, kid who committed suicide was actually a kid I knew. And because I had coached soccer out here a little bit in my spare time. And he had always asked me about stand-up comedian. And I thought, why don't I bring some of the guys out here in the summer to do some workshops with these kids? And I didn't want the theater kids necessarily. I wanted them, but I also wanted the sort of, the malcontents, to come out, the kids wearing all the black and all that stuff. And so we had these sort of, the oddballs who like
anywhere else.
Yeah. They want to be, and comedy's like music where, kids you're cool if you can do comedy. It's like being able to be in a band and
right.
Yeah. So I brought the guys out here. All my friends came out and, I thought, well, while you're out here, why don't we do something for the adults at night? And I started really a small, festival at first. And then I started to realize that these kids wanted to learn how to try and do stand-up, not to be stand-up comedians, but to sort of learn how to build self-confidence, self-esteem through public speaking. Yeah. And so I sort of developed a curriculum and started helping these kids. So every summer I have about 10, 15 kids that perform stand-up in a program that I developed called Stand Up and Learn. And so the festival supports that, the year-round program. So it's a lot of fun. And I think, look, if this festival was in Newark, New Jersey, a lot of my good friends wouldn't be my friends when I asked them to come out to Nantucket.
You're asking them to come to Nantucket in July. Right. Let me think about that. Yeah.
And I really don't. And I also say I don't pay anybody. So I say, guys, if you get a gig and you want to take it, absolutely, walk away. And then I came up with the New York versus Boston Comedy Smackdown because of all my friends in New York, all my friends in Boston. But I say over the years, 15 years now, 2 people have canceled, maybe or 3 actually. Birbiglia kind of fucked me on one night. So, but yeah, man, it's been great, and it's hard because you get big headliners to come out. I mean, it's a really great story. Ron White and Gaffigan and Lewis Black, and they all want to come back. Brian Regan, and the thing is like you get them for free. I'm like, well, they want to come for the Stand Up and Learn program. They're also my friends.
Right.
And it's also Nantucket. But what I always, the thing I feel bad about is that, the openers in the middle, well, everybody's kind of a headliner who comes out here, but those are the working comics who really need the money.
Right.
But Brian and Gaffigan, they've all been so wonderful to the program and they come out every couple of years. So, I tell a story about, I had one, I think maybe just before the pandemic or 2 years before the pandemic, I had Ron White and Stephen Wright out. And we called it Wright and White. Sounds like a Trump bumper sticker.
Yeah, right. I was gonna say, you just had clapping from a lot of conservatives on that one.
So I'm sitting in the back of this Suburban, and we're heading up Island for dinner at the party after the show. And Stephen Wright's just great. He's such a sweetheart. Ron White, kind of quiet and brooding a little bit. And Ron White had met this girl on the airplane. So he's sort of, taking care of business all weekend. He has no lead in his pencil. So he's sort of all like just kind of relaxed. And she's like this new divorcee, about 35, 36. She got 2 kids, a little blondie, and she's in the car. And I'm with my girlfriend, and, my girlfriend's in the business, in the television business. So she sort of knows the scoop, and Rogerson's sitting there. And I start talking about the Michael Pollan book, the follow-up to this book called Omnivore's Dilemma, but he talks about, the mushrooms and psilocybin and acid, and how they were doing research and how it helps with anxiety and ADD and depression and schizophrenia and all this stuff. And I'm talking about the book. I'm saying, well, they're really getting some great traction on sort of great mind opening, mind expanding things in a healthy, medicinal way.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden Ron goes, yeah, I'm microdosing now. And everybody in the car, in the truck kind of looks around, and the girl goes, she's just met him, but she's been hanging out with him all weekend. She goes, what do you mean? You're taking drugs? He goes, it's not drugs, honey. It's mushrooms, man. It's mushrooms. She goes, those are drugs, Ron. Those are drugs. And he goes, nah, don't worry about it. He goes, drugs are like stuff that I need if the mushrooms don't work, like some acid and coke. And I got that if I need it. He goes, I got that if I need it. She goes, what do you mean you got that if you need it? She goes, where? And he goes, the bag you're holding.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. What?
You know what's funny? I got to ask you this because you've mentioned Anthony Clark a couple of times, and he was one of the guys that was like,
he killed, man. He killed.
I worked with him.
Loved it.
I can't even count how many times I got to work with him, and I loved him. And then he just, after Yes Dear, just dropped off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
What is he doing now? Someone said he was in real estate, but he doesn't do comedy anymore, does he?
Yeah, I think about it now because I felt like I was one of the top younger guys in Boston, and I could go toe to toe with anybody, but you'd watch, Nick DiPaolo on a certain night would just rip a room apart, and John Panette. And Anthony Clark was, Anthony had a way. The girls loved him. Guys loved him. And I would say the funny thing about Anthony, you say he's in real estate. He's only was in real estate because he was investing in real estate. The kid has his first quarter. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I loved him. We hung out a lot in the day, and we used to laugh because you'd go out with Tony, and then after a couple of cocktails, he turned into Tina. It was like,
oh, okay.
Yeah, and but he was so funny. We'd just kill it. We always laugh because we're with Tony every week. We're working. He had Wednesday night at Stitches. I had Thursday night, and he was doing the night, and then we'd do each other's shows and we'd hang out afterwards. Well, he does his first television special, and all of a sudden he's got a Southern accent, and we're like, dude, where'd that fucking come from? He could pull that out of his ass. Yeah. And Anthony was a good actor too, but I think, he's just, he doesn't work anymore. He
doesn't do anything, right?
He's got his money, and he's living in whatever he's doing.
Wow.
Yeah.
I loved him. He was he was one of those headliners that was like one of the nicest guys to me at first. And I don't mean at first like he turned into an asshole, but when I first started doing comedy and I was opening for different people, he was one of those guys that was just always consistently nice. Right. He'd be like, oh, hey, Aceto, come on back. We're all having fun.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good, Anthony Clark.
Oh man, listen, I used to do impressions of him all the time. I still do. It's like I would do,
I must have watched
every one of his jokes.
The HBO Young Comedian special that had him and young Dave Chappelle.
Oh yeah.
I must have watched that same special. I recorded it on a VCR. For you young kids, that's what we used to record things on. I watched that special 100 times. And watch those two guys.
I never got sick of his act.
Anthony Clark was just as funny as Chappelle was on that special.
Oh, yeah. But Chappelle's are sort of our Carlin, our generation.
Exactly.
But I will say this, that at Chappelle, I just think is at another level. He's doing something, there's a higher calling there, and he's just a genius. And I knew him when he came through Boston. Barry Katz brought him to Boston. Barry Katz, I had a roommate who was African-American, and so he'd be with me in the green room, so I'd like have a pass. Chappelle go, this your roommate? All right, we're hanging. And then Chris Rock said the same thing, but he just was funny. But I will say this. One guy who used to blow me away, he's no longer with us, was Greg Giraldo. I don't know if you know Greg.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, man. He just
him.
Brilliant.
Harvard Law School, dropped out, and just
really
one of the best guys on roasts ever.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, but that I think underserved him because he should have been a Chappelle. He really was an amazing comic. And,
I told you I work in medical sales, and my company at the time.
Oh, Scott, we're gonna get depressed again.
No. This is funny. My company hired him during a product launch to talk to come up and do like 5 minutes or 10 minutes in between scientific presentations just to break the day up. And the two sector vice presidents were portly people. And Geraldo gets up in between one of the sessions and he looks, the two senior vice presidents had made a speech, and he gets up and his first line is, wow, evidently there's a weight requirement to be a vice president in this company. And I was dying laughing, but I saw him at lunch and I had introduced myself. I said, hey man, I'm a comic. I live in, I'm in the Boston area.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, and so he was cool. And I go, you realize you're never going to get hired by this company again. He goes, yeah, I pretty much figured that out.
He was funny.
He was so cool, down to earth though,
Yeah, we used to work at Gotham and he'd do 3-4 shots. You go do another, jump on a motorcycle and go do another spot. I'm like, okay, 3 shots of tequila and you're out the fucking door on a motorcycle in New York City. In New York City.
What could go wrong?
Right, exactly. Right. So,
oh my God. So tell us about this year's festival. Give us a little bit of information because we want to put this out for our listeners.
Well, a couple of things. We shot a comedy special out here on Nantucket. There's a big weekend, the first weekend of December, called Christmas Stroll. And everybody comes back to the island for that weekend. It's got, Nantucket's got that sort of Aspen cachet. So I started this show called Nantucket Nights, sort of based on an Austin City Limits but for comedy. Yep. And this year we filmed 2 specials, one with Don Gavin and one with Tom Cotter. So this year at the festival on Wednesday night, we're going to do a kind of a sneak peek of Gavin's special. It's 40 minutes. Yeah. And we're going to have a Q&A with the director and myself. Jimmy Dunn's coming out. Jimmy was one of the producers. Yep. Excuse me. Jimmy, who I think is, if he was in LA, he'd be producing. He's got great insights, great sort of creative abilities. He knows the business.
Smart guy.
Yeah. Right. And he's driven and he's an Irish hard ass. So I kind of like that. So that's Wednesday night. Thursday night's women's night. I think the Boston people I have coming out, I think the only one is Carolyn Plummer.
Okay.
She's coming out. And she's very funny and very sweet person. And Tammy Pescatelli's headlining that one. So
nice.
She's very funny. Yeah. Friday night, one of the guys, I don't know if you knew Vic Henley, who passed away.
Yeah, I know the name, but I don't think I ever worked with him. Yeah.
Vic was a good buddy of mine. He was one of the original guys in the Blue Collar Comedy Tour.
Yes. Yeah,
everybody loved him. Fastest talker. You could drop the man anywhere and he would just flourish. Well, we're doing a little tribute to him. So I'm doing a night of Southern comedy there. And I've got a couple of headliners. Ronnie Bullard is one. So he's doing that. Karen Morgan, who's the other sort of local one. I always try to, sprinkle in some Boston people in there, obviously. And then on, we're going to have a band, play Sweet Home Alabama, show some of Vic's clips, do some great, comedy from the South. And then Saturday night is the New York versus Boston Comedy Smackdown, which I started, 16 years ago here.
Right.
So
who's on that?
Well, D'Angelo's closing up for Boston. So hopefully
nice. I love it.
Boston can get it. And I think Ducharme's closing for New York because he's sort of a New Yorker now. I know he's originally a Rhode Island guy.
Yeah, he's getting actually inducted into the Rhode Island Comedy Hall of Fame in July.
He gets $25 for that too, I think, right?
Yeah. Well, I got very well done. I got 15 when I was inducted, but
because you were at a bowling alley.
Ducharme was a little bit bigger. He was like the comedy big brother. So when I started, it was like me, Rockin' Joe Hebert, Eddie Galvin, a couple of other guys, and then like the upperclassmen to us were Ducharme, Paul Mercurio, Joe Rogan, Tom Cotter. Those were the guys that were like
Cotter and Ducharme are two of my best buddies. So
I love both of them, and we've had both of them on the show before.
Sweetheart, you can get them on together. It's more fun.
Oh yeah, we
That
should. We
would
should
be
actually work on trying to get the two of them.
Do a little Rhode Island reunion of those guys.
Yeah,
they're
that'd
sleeping
actually
again.
be
They're sleeping
fun.
together too, so that always helps. 'Cause
Well,
they'll be in the
that's
same-
old
why.
news, though.
But we'd
That's
have
old
to
news.
we'd have to hide that from Bernadette and Kerry Louise. That's the
Yeah,
problem.
exactly.
No,
Yeah.
those two encourage it.
Yeah, they probably do. They're like, yeah, get
Yeah.
the fuck out of the bedroom. Go
Those
with your
are-
boyfriend.
Those are two marriages. As hard as it is to make it in this business, it's even harder to be married to another comedian and make it. And they've made it. They're
And you
two
made
wonderful
it, yeah.
couples.
Actually, today is Tom and Kerry's 21st anniversary.
Yeah.
I saw it on Facebook. So 21 years. That's
What's his
crazy.
joke? He's got. I've been married 25 years. Two of the best years of my life. I think he said something like that.
No,
Yeah,
I
something like
his-
that.
I like his old one. I'm not saying my ex-girlfriend is a whore, but she could count the guys that she slept with on one hand if she was holding a fucking calculator.
And you
that
hear.
was inspired by Gavin.
Yes, I was just going to say that. You hear it.
Gavin, right?
I think you went into a Gavin impression there. Is what you
Yeah,
did.
yeah, he does.
Yeah, but they're
So,
good people.
yeah, I think it's-
Look, a lot of good people in this business. A lot of assholes. You just got to figure out which are which. That's all. Life's too short.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, listen, man, you're one of the good ones because I was telling Scott when I reached out to you again, you don't know me from a hole in the wall.
Mm-hmm.
We were friends on Facebook, but we never really worked together. And as soon as I reached out to you, you were like, yeah, I'd love to be on. Thanks so much. And you called me brother because this is a brotherhood of comedy.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
But even though we've never worked together, I felt like, and Jackie Flynn was on, and I know you guys do the
Brothers.
Brothers from Another Mother
Yeah.
show, and he had talked about that when he was on with us a few years ago.
Uh-huh.
And everyone that we've talked to that knows you personally, that's worked with you,
Yeah, speaks
have
very
been-
highly of you.
yeah, they've all been like, no, Kevin's an awesome guy. You guys will love hanging with him, and hopefully you had fun tonight as well.
I did, guys. I appreciate it. Look, there's too many people trying to shit on us as it is. We gotta support each other. I have said to people back in the Boston days, if you don't like somebody's act, it's okay. Just they're still a good person. Be nice to them. It's fine. It's just a better world that way. So
There are definitely people I wasn't crazy about their act, but I liked them as a person, you
Right.
know, and that's it.
let them find their own way and their own journey. So
Exactly. Yeah.
So, Kevin, what can we promote for you as far as like websites or social
well, I'm
media?
at kevinflynnlive.com is my website. So I got a lot going on. I have a podcast with soccer called Over the Ball, the Stand Up and Learn program, the comedy festival, the Fear of Heights. And
So
and then my stand-up.
again, tell us, because we're going to be putting this out next Thursday, the 6th. No, the 7th, which is going to be before the Nantucket Comedy Festival.
Sure.
So what are the dates of the comedy festival?
Well, Gavin's screening is on the 13th of July. The 14th is Women's Night. 15th is Southern Night. Saturday night is the New York versus Boston Comedy Smackdown.
So listen, folks, if you are on Nantucket on any of those days, you absolutely have to get tickets to one of these shows because, again, he's bringing in assassins, as Joe Rogan says. Some
Every
of the
single
greatest comics. Every night is going to be a great night.
It's going to be a blast. Great parties, too. So, go online at nantucketcomedy.com and there's tickets for sale on there. It kind of shows every comic because I couldn't name them all, but they're all on there and what the night entails. And it's a lot of fun, guys. So hopefully one day you can make it out, man.
Well, listen, I'm already thinking about next year just coming to the parties.
Yeah.
We'll just come out for the parties. Maybe we'll do a live podcast from Nantucket and try and grab
go down
people
and
at the
record some people.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Bring your gold credit card. That's for sure. Nantucket.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
All right, fellas.
his job is better than mine, so he's paying.
He's got a retirement package. West Coast of Florida he's headed to, man.
Exactly. All right,
Yes.
Kevin, thank you so much.
Guys,
Thank
absolutely.
you so
Take
much,
care,
man.
fellas.
We really
You got it,
appreciate
man. Break legs, brothers.
Thanks.
What an awesome guy.
Yeah, right? I mean, I
Awesome
told
guy.
you right off the rip, when I reached out to him, he was just calling me brother and so nice and so cordial. And it was as if, and even talking to him tonight, it was as if we knew him for years. So,
He's had great success. He's built this awesome program
yeah.
in Nantucket for the kids.
And that's the thing. It's not just a comedy festival. It's to
serves
support
a
a
purpose.
program for the kids.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that he decided to do that because we all know, and especially as time goes on, everyone even popular kids feel like outcasts.
Now,
if you're
nowadays, it's
able-
more important than ever.
Right. If you're able to support and hold people up like
Yeah.
that, then that's a great thing.
And I love how he ended it with, it's okay as comedians, we need to support each other.
Yeah.
Even if you don't like another comic's act, that's fine. Still support them.
Still support them because they're still trying to do the job.
And we need more of that.
Yeah.
We need more of that. So I mean, this was an honor to have him on. It
Absolutely.
Really was. It really
Absolutely.
was. So thank you all for joining us. I hope you guys enjoyed that. That was fantastic. For me, Ace, great job getting him on
Thanks,
tonight.
man.
That was a really good get. You guys, thank you so much for tuning in, for listening, for subscribing. If you have a second, please, that 5-star written review is a big help. Check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/behind the funny. Check out what's going on there. For just a few measly shekels a month, you can get some, you can go to our old episodes, some episodes you can't get anywhere anymore. Ace and I are picking some of our all-time favorites and posting them up there.
Yeah.
We're going to get some bonus stuff up there real soon. There's merch. There's all kinds of stuff that's happening there. So check that out, definitely.
And please tell a friend about us. If you've got
Yeah.
friends that like podcasts and are looking for something fun to listen to, please tell them about us. We're trying to grow this as we always have been. And you know what we have? In 5.5 years, this has gone from a couple of hundred downloads a month to thousands of downloads a month. And you know what? We're two unknown guys outside of New England. There's tons of podcasts out there. I think, Scott, what was the number last time you checked? How many podcasts?
88,000.
88,000. And even if we're in the top 5,000, we feel that's an accomplishment.
That's just United States generated podcasts,
Right.
Not worldwide podcasts.
Right.
There's more than that from outside of the United States.
But if we can be in the top 5,000, we're happy. And some months we're in the top 500.
Exactly.
So we're very, very excited. We love doing this, and we hope that you guys enjoy it as well. So please continue to listen, continue to tell friends about us. And we've got some great shows coming up. Next week, we are going to be live with Meet the Mulherns Part 2.
Yes.
So our buddy Brian Mulhern and his lovely wife Carla are going to be on again. If you remember, we literally, when we were pulling the best of 2020,
we almost just replayed that entire episode.
it was so much. There was so many good clips in that we ended up just constantly pulling clips.
Brian is a professional entertainer.
Yes.
Who was a former professional comedy writer.
Yes.
And Carla made me laugh
Is 10 times funnier
as he did.
I know.
She is hilarious.
Well, I saw them last week, and that's when I booked them for this, and I was like, Carla, how many times did you say, Brian would be like, I don't know why you married me, and you'd be like, I don't know, why did I?
Yes, she agreed with him.
So she texted me tonight while we were doing the other show, or the show earlier, and she was like, I already got the peanut butter whiskey and the chocolate wine ready for next week.
Awesome.
So it's going to be a great show.
Awesome. I love those guys.
So listen, folks, we can't thank you enough for watching and for listening. Please hit the subscribe button if you enjoy it. And other than that, we will talk to you
next week.